Hello, everybody. Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 Kill Team channel on YouTube. Unless, of course, you are aware of any other channel on YouTube, in which case I've just lied to you, so I apologize for that. First things first, yeah, we're going to look at some tournament results. It's going to be nice and chilled one today. I'm not going to hyper focus on like, oh, Deathwatch OP or anything like that. We're just going to look at the results of the largest event so far that will next weekend be changed when LVO comes out, and they're currently rocking 120 players. We just had 93 players in London this weekend. So I want to talk about that because it's the first time we've had the new approved ops played in a over 4 round event so far. Obviously, approved ops are brand new. So, of course, this is the largest event so far, but it does line up pretty nicely. And it's also a little bit of a chance to take a look at the two new teams in ways that I think are a little bit more interesting to look at than just win rate. With that said, it should be noted, hey, Kill Teamers, Rattlings, that is the free miniature of the month. There you go. You can get that for your local GW store. I'm going to shrinkify myself a little bit. All right, with that said, before we get to it, hey, what should I play this evening for my local game? Battleclade, currently just being beaten by Deathwatch. This is actually one of the most even polls I've ever seen on my channel. Normally, if I put up normally there's a clear winner, and Deathwatch is technically winning, but only just. I will say I just went up to get out my Battleclade because I'm not going to play Deathwatch. The other player is going to play Deathwatch. And I've lost a model for my Battleclade. It must be here in my house, but I can't find it. So I'm not going to paint another model. Let's be real clear about that. I'm not painting. If I've lost a model from Battleclade, I can just literally never play Battleclade again. Cool. Right. With that said, let's get into the results. So, in case you haven't seen the, oh, hey, maybe you're new here. How do you find results and how do you find tournaments near you? So you just go to bestcoastpairings.com. You can see the address at the top left there. You can do this. You do need to have a subscription to it or a subscription to my Warhammer. I'm not sure how that actually interacts anymore. To get like past results, I'm not 100% sure what you can't get because I have a subscription to both. So there you go. Cool. So when looking at these, a lot of people like to focus on like what's podium, top 1, 2, 3. I think it's best to look at, if you look here, top 1 and 2 have 0 losses. So really, we needed a 7th round so that the top 2 players fought each other. There you go. And then you would have a definitive winner, unless they both drew, in which case, let's not talk about that. However, you then go down the top 8, and they all have a single loss. Down from 2 to 8, there's a single loss. You then have 9 to 12 that have a loss and a draw. And then you go down to double losses. So if you're looking at kind of just, hey, who nearly won? I think it's totally valid to look at not just the top 8, although that could be, and for brevity, will be where we stop looking, but you could easily look at top 12. Top 12 didn't take 2 losses. Had it been a 9-round event, you could have even had these things even out, where the top 2 players start taking losses, and somebody at 12th could have ended up from the Kill Team Alliance there, Jamie Burrell with the Koptek Circle, who is Kill Team Alliance is where my local place, so that's nice. That could have been first place. That's how close they are when you're talking about this size of event. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yes, they've had a loss, but had there been more games, it could have been enough for there to be a win and first place all the way down to number 12 there. So that's just something to consider when you're thinking about these things, because for brevity, most people are going to look at the top 3, which is valid, but and this is nice because it has had 6 rounds, which is far more valid to look at just who hasn't had a loss. But so often these days, you'll be getting 30 players, 3 rounds, almost irrelevant. And so because of that and how common that is, I genuinely think that the win rates, which are out there in general, are fun to look at, but I don't think they're particularly representative of the what's the word? The actual power levels of teams. There you go. I think that's fair. This is going to be one of the last tournaments out there that is unclassified for these really large golden ticket events. So obviously, the top there is Wormblade, which is a white dwarf team, as we term it, which is going to be filtered out within the next month, basically. I think month and a half, and we expect the white dwarf teams to go along with all of the season one. So that's interesting. I know that a month or two, a couple of weeks back, people started winning with Wormblade. So obviously there's some new hot tech out there for the comp players. Good for them. They can look into that, and that's interesting. You know, it is interesting to see teams that you don't expect to win. Obviously, Dan Barton is the current, perhaps until November, world champion. So the fact that he's won is very good. That means that, yes, there is an element of skill in Kill Team, and that you can, based on who has picked the teams, who is the player, they have enough skill expression to say this person should win. Obviously, Ryan Slater is the number 2 with Deathwatch there. And due to the fact that these two players never faced each other, it's very valid to say that they both came first. I think that's not an issue, because in case you don't know how these things work, in this instance, it does generally come down to number of victory points scored first. So just if you add up all of their scores, probably, I haven't done it, Wormblade will have scored more there. However, if you go and look at how did they get placed and who did they play into, you've got to look into path of victory and opponent game win percentage, which the player that won has nothing to do with. It's a bit of an issue. You've got to figure these things out somehow. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying there's a better way. But for example, in case you don't know what that means, perhaps Dan Barson here, Wormblade, played every player, and then all of the people he played came second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. But then every team that the Deathwatch Ryan Slater there played, they came 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. And then, based on that, Dan, the Wormblade, would win because the people that he played did better, which I could definitely see the logic behind. But due to the way Swiss works, there's no real way to make that fair, unless you're doing seeded and unless you're doing invitationals, obviously. There you go. Cool. Right. Now, I've opened up a whole load of tabs up here, which is going to allow us to look at different things. And I've forgotten what every single tab is, so we're just going to get cracking on with it. So the first question has to be, how are Deathwatch doing? Deathwatch were the most numerous team, with 13 out of 93 taking them. Then kind of the second most taken, which we're going to look at in a moment, don't worry, dropped down to like 6 taken or something. So I think this is a really, really interesting bit of data here. So 93 players. So the halfway point is what, 46? So if we look, Paolo here, poor Paolo, sorry mate, has just missed the cutoff, which means out of 13, 10 of them finished in the top 50%. And that's a lovely bit of detail. That is so much more interesting than finding out their overall win rate percentage. In a 93 player tournament, with the most numerous team being Deathwatch, and there were so many, because I looked through some of the data, there were so many mirror matches of Deathwatch, so they were knocking each other out of first, let's be clear. This is a lovely bit of capitulation of data where we get to see that top 50% of the tournament was way, way skewed to being Deathwatch. So Deathwatch, out of 13, only 10 of them got top 50%. Which, if you just look at that, what does that mean? They're like 70% win rate? Like, that's really good, really interesting. And yes, we only have, what, 3 in the top 10? Okay, that's a bad number. Okay, I was going to say, we only have 2 in the top 10. It's like, no, we got 3 in the top 10. Oh, man, if we talk about the 12 that I was saying, we've got 4 in the top 12. Okay, that's a really bad number, actually. That's a really bad number. Oh, no, I'm not making my argument. That's fine. I don't have an argument to make. I was going to say that it clearly shows that Deathwatch is relatively strong and maybe we could argue slightly overtuned. But that doesn't mean that they are overtuned. It might just mean that they are easier to play, and therefore the mental load that you have to, there's a word, and I forgot it just like I did last video, but there is a mental load that you just don't have to worry. So they are easier to play because of that. But then we got a third of the top 12 being Deathwatch. Okay. That's not great. That's not great. But again, that does hint, that tells us things. That's good. We like to know things. That hints at the fact that they might be overtuned. And again, they might not be overtuned in stats, but the fact that they are easier to play due to mental load might be where they're overtuned. And so you are allowed to make them more complicated because there's only 5 models or something like that. Like that's a very, very valid way to view balancing Kill Team. Perhaps we do not need to nerf them. We need to make them more complicated when it comes to balance. Like that will probably require a whole rewrite of the team, so it won't happen, but it's valid to view it that way. We can view their strength in their simplicity as opposed to their strength in their gangsterosity, if you will. So then obviously we want to look at the Koptek Circle. So this is the other new team. Now, there were only 4 people taking them, so obviously this is a much smaller sample size, but for all 4 of them to come in the top half is actually in itself very interesting data. And again, 3 of them in the top 12. Again, that's just me picking a random thing of top 12 mattering. Top 12 doesn't have to matter. You could say, I only care about the people that didn't get any losses. And so you only care about top 2, in which case, 1 Deathwatch, which means nothing. It's irrelevant. Irrelevant data. However, seeing that 4 people took this new Koptek Circle, and they all ended in the top half of the tournament, that's interesting. This is, of course, also considered to be a more difficult team to play, a more complicated team, certainly more complicated than Deathwatch. Because that's a very interesting one. There you go. Maybe that tells us something. Again, you can always look at who are the players, right? Let's be honest. As discussed at this first slide, world champion, yeah, he probably should come first. That makes a lot of sense. It's almost irrelevant what team he plays. But additionally, the team that he picks is probably picked for a reason at this size of event. You know, he may be messing around, playing around with different teams that he doesn't think he can win with at smaller events as testers. But when you go to an event this size, there are many advantages to playing a team that you think is good, but also people don't know how to play against. If you are able to do gotchas, gotchas are incredibly powerful in Kill Team. They are there across the board. However, as you get to the top echelons of play, there are far fewer gotchas because you know the teams. So if you are able to start to win consistently with a team that your other equally skilled players don't know, that is an incredible advantage. So the fact that Mr. Dan here would pick Wormblade in itself does tell us things. But again, world champion probably should win. This makes perfect sense. Koptek Circle, new team. It could just be the players. It could be the players that managed to get the box set early, so had extra time with the rules, so they have a genuine advantage over there. Oh no, that's only one of them. So I guess the other 3, you know, would have only had the regular legal amount of time with the team. So that's, you know, okay. But hey, who cares? Not winning money off it, are we? We then get to look at Nemesis Claw. Now we're looking at Nemesis Claw because this is the 3rd most played team. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've lied. They're Raveners. We're looking at Raveners first because they are the 2nd most played team. It's Deathwatch, Raveners, then Nemclaw. So this is really interesting data. Again, if we look at this, Raveners. 50% mark is 46. Only 5 made it into the top 50%, with 3 of them not making it into the top 50%. That, again, is interesting. which would hint that Raveners are above that 50% win rate. I know that GW always focuses on the 55 to 45% win rate range, in which case this is probably about where it should be. With, if you view it that way, then you've got 4 above, 1 in the mid, and 3 below, which with only 1, 2, yeah, with probably like 3 or 4 of them not within that 45 to 55% win rate range. Again, this is only a single tournament, but it's just interesting to kind of think, so many people, 6 rounds, how are the teams doing when enough of them are being taken that we can take something away from it? I'm not looking at Kassakin. I'm not looking at Navy Breaches, not because they've done not how we would expect, but because only one person took each of them. Exaction is what I think 2 people took them, and that's it. No, one person took Exaction. I'm currently interested in Exaction because I'm interested in Darktide, and you can be in Arbites there. And I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I can, make both of those things work in my head. But only one person took them. So where they finished is irrelevant. In the same way that only one person took Wormblade. The fact that Wormblade have come first doesn't mean Wormblade are good necessarily, or at least not good in my hands, right? So there you go, something to consider. But again, just interesting to see how many of them got 2 losses. And there's only 2. Not bad. But then on the flip side, one of them has come almost last. These are just interesting things. Are Raveners overpowered? I know they're not the most new team, but they're one of the newest teams out there. Who came out alongside Raveners? Battleclade. Yeah, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. You're fine. You're safe, guys. You're safe. Battleclade, not a menace, it turns out. Which is a real shame. As I said, I've lost a model, so I guess I'm not going to play them. I'll play Scouts instead, maybe. Anyway, so Raveners not really dominating the scene, but a solid team to play into. While we're here, because I'm not going to look at Raveners again, let's see how Battleclade have done. Okay. All right. They're a complicated team, though. Raveners, much simpler team. Does it mean that, again, perhaps similar to Deathwatch, Raveners are strong on the datasheet, or are they simple? And you could argue that if they're a simple team, then why aren't they doing better as Deathwatch are, right? And then we get Nemclaw. This is the last one we're going to look at in this way because they're the 3rd most played team. And of course, they are Marines, so people like to play them. This makes sense. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lovely. 7 of them. And if we see this, we've got 3 above, 3 below, 1 roughly in the middle. Almost exactly in the middle, in fact. That's pretty good. Pretty good, yeah. Okay. They see... Oh, ooh. What's this? This guy's only had 3 games. But he's also come higher than this guy. Okay, I don't know what's happened there. We're just going to ignore that. But, again, this kind of tells us that Nemclaw are probably roughly balanced where they should be in the game, which is good data. With that done, I assume I've stopped now because those are the 3 highest most played teams that most people are going to be interested in. We then get to see, I was going to look through here to look at their matchups. So he knows Matt, he knows Sirkin, I don't know if he knows Tom, but he's just interesting. And then he had a final game against that guy. So that's interesting to see who they matched up against. Now, I had a quick look at Ryan, the Deathwatch number 2 player, games yesterday. If you recall, when I stand by, his first 3 games were like just amazing matchups. They were just like, oh yeah, he's gonna win. He's gonna win those. So he got some good matchups for the first week, but then I didn't check his. Ooh, I know Tom's running Scouts, so All right, let's look. So David Kennedy and Jack O'Neill. Let's see. Deathwatch. Okay, so he had the mirror. As I said, the mirror knocked a lot of people out. And then I think this Jack guy was he Deathwatch as well? Did he? Did I put that in correctly? Jack O'Neill. He had back to back. Okay. A double Deathwatch mirror. Well, that's interesting in itself. It kind of means that maybe Deathwatch should stop mirroring into each other. And if we actually removed the Deathwatch mirror match, maybe that actually knocks the Deathwatch win rate up significantly. I suspect it would, which means that probably Deathwatch is overtuned, if you account for the mirror. But as it was, if you look at the skill level of Ryan there, the Deathwatch mirror is a weird one. I don't really know what you want to play into that. It does, I suspect, come down very heavily into, can you put the guy you want into the guy you want? And then also, do you win initiative? Because if you've got 5 models, being able to take out one of their models first is incredibly good, obviously. So that's very interesting there. And then I was also interested in how, so this is the thing I'm actually interested in right now, as I'm considering what team do I want to take forwards and play. Inquisitorial Agents. So Guy Barton, obviously, as mentioned, father of Dan Barton, the winner. Good guy, good all-round guy. I've met him twice, when I used to live in London. I'm interested in what he was running as his secondary dudes, whatever they're called. As I mentioned, I suppose typically you're always in this edition, you are either running Exaction or you're running Kassakin. But I don't really know. I haven't played Inquisitors myself, literally, ever. So I don't, well, I played into them. I haven't played as them. So I don't really know how you're kind of doing that setup. But he only took 1 loss, which was to John, I think. So who's that? What did he lose to, eh? Tech. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Literally the most powerful team in the game. Yeah, fair play. Okay. that everybody agrees with. And then we're just back here. And so these are the thoughts I'm having. These are interesting things. I'm really looking forwards to LVO results next week. It's a 9-round event, which is obviously super cool. It's currently at 120 people ish. I think I just checked. It was 119. Whether they're going to sell more now and then how many people don't turn up. There's always some drops. Well, we don't quite know till the day. But this is really cool. And so this will actually give us 2 really nice sample sizes to go forwards and start to think, okay, do we need to just figure out how to beat Deathwatch and Canoptek Circle? Or actually, are they kind of okay and they're not overpowered? Who knows? These are the interesting things. And we don't get that many large tournaments. And when I say large, obviously I do mean number of players, but I also mean number of rounds. It's so common. If you look at any of these tournaments, even the 24 players, they tend to be 3 rounds when they need to be 5. And so we just rarely have enough data to actually get down to brass tacks, as they say. There you go. These are my thoughts. Do I have anything else to say? No. Use my affiliate links. I have a Patreon. Tell me what team to play November 15th for my team tournament. My teammates are going, one's going Raveners, one is going Mandrakes and or Blades of Cain. What do I take? Please tell me. Thank you. Have a good one. I will undoubtedly see you later in the week for a video that my patrons have already seen. And then next week, I'm probably going to do exactly the same, having a little look into what happens at the LGT, because I love looking at these big tournament numbers. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.